Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
During the pandemic, we needed every RN we could get our hands on, but I honestly don't think that was money that was spent wisely.
Without the facts and the support of the insurance companies, there's just no plan moving forward. So it just makes it really hard to make any decisions for not only myself, my employees, customers.
It's 5 cents a week, it's 10 cents the next week. Like, I actually was shocked. I had to fill up on Monday and it was $1.55. I thought, wow, that's getting up there. Now it's 10 cents more, 3 days down the road.
Thanks for joining us. CBC News has learned that Windsor Regional Hospital spent upwards of $750,000 on hiring bonuses for registered nurses. The money helped recruit 35 frontline healthcare workers. And now we've also learned the program is actually set to come to an end. These details were just discussed at a hospital board meeting this evening. The CBC's Jason Veal joins us live now with more in studio. Jason, you were monitoring that meeting. What is the latest?
That's right. We were getting some of these numbers just moments ago from this board meeting, and those hiring bonuses were aimed at increasing healthcare capacity from May until now. And registered nurses in critical care from outside of Ontario and Canada could receive upwards of $75,000 in incentives. Retired and unemployed registered nurses also qualified for between $10,000 and $25,000 in those same incentives. Now, all of this money flowed from a provincial program, not local budgets, and the incentives helped staff 500 new critical care beds across Ontario that were added last year to help during COVID. CBC News has learned that Windsor Regional, as you had mentioned, spent upwards of $750,000 on these hiring incentives. And there's a hospital board meeting that's still ongoing right now, so we're learning some new details. But the chief nursing executive summarized the program, saying it's been a huge success for them, especially since Michigan is right next door.
And that has been a challenge for us here locally for many, many years. So we've always been competing with U.S. hospitals offering very large sign-on bonuses and other perks, which further reduces the number of nurses that are available in Ontario and across Canada.
Now, Riddell also highlighted a 2019 McGill University study that predicted a full-time shortage of 60,000 nurses across Canada by this year. I spoke with the Ontario Nurses Association today about all of this, and they say the money and incentives could have been better spent on the nurses that are already there.
They should have gave them at least cost of living increases, and they're not. They're way below the cost of living. So every single payday, their pay is worth less than it was the pay before with the cost of living. But the costing, why it's better spent is they would have still had the staff. Staff have left because there aren't enough of them and they can't keep up.
And we also reached out to the Ministry of Health on this, and they ignored our repeated attempts to find out how much the Ontario government spent on these incentives overall across the province, as well as how many hospitals participated in this program. They did, however, say in an email that these hiring bonuses will stop at the end of this month.
Thanks, Jason. CBC's Jason Veal live in studio tonight. Business owners have not been able to access their establishments for more than 6 months in downtown Wheatley after last summer's explosion. And now some are being told their insurance policies won't be renewed. All the while, they've been forced to stay away as officials investigate the source of the blast. And as Jacob Barker reports, without insurance, their concerns for their establishments are growing even greater.
It was mayhem. It was a lot of people that were very scared.
That's Barry Broadbent speaking to CBC cameras in the aftermath of last summer's explosion. Today, over 6 months on, he's still being kept at a distance from his restaurant.
And we realize that it's safety issues and that it is going to take some time in order to correct the problem.
He's operated his business for the last 34 years in the downtown core. His insurance policy was up for renewal at the end of February. He says they told him they won't cover his building or property anymore.
As far as the buildings and the property go, there's nothing that they're interested in. They've just said that they're not interested in supplying insurance to my particular property because it's in the evacuation zone.
One kind of insurance that is being offered to Broadbent is liability insurance, but that's not very useful when nobody is able to come in or out of his business. Broadbent says that without proper insurance, it's hard to figure out how to proceed with his business. if and when it comes back online.
It's the fear of the unknown. I can't do business without insurance. Presently, it's really hard to make a plan going forward because without insurance, obviously, there's just too big of a risk to get back into business. So without insurance, you just can't do business.
There are many businesses in the downtown core locked up behind the fences, close to where drilling is underway to try and find the source of the explosion, believed to be an abandoned well. It's a concern for the local Business Improvement Association.
You go and you pay these premiums and everything else, and then something that occurs that's completely out of any of our own hands, and then for the insurance company to completely trap it is just absolutely ludicrous.
A trend it hopes does not continue as more businesses' policies come up for renewal.
For us, I think my policy's due in May, and nothing's been said to me as far as anything like that, but hopefully this isn't the start of, falling dominoes.
The municipality says one of the big problems is that the investigation is still ongoing to find the source of the explosion and resolve it. If the risk in the area can be mitigated, it says that can restore the confidence insurance companies would need to continue to insure those within the evacuation zone. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Wheatley.
Let's turn now to the latest in Ukraine. Fighting is intensifying as Russian forces make further advances into the country. More than 1 million people have fled Ukraine as the war enters its second week. CBC's Julia Wong has the latest.
Plumes of dark smoke fill the sky after Russian missile strikes in a Ukrainian town north of Kiev. Elsewhere, rubble and destruction as Russia continues to push into the country. The wounded carried away after shelling hit residential neighborhoods. When it started landing, everything at us was shaking, this woman says. The ceiling lamp. I was very scared. In Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, bombing destroyed residential and government buildings, leaving the city in ruins.
It's heartbreaking to see now that the buildings which survived the Nazi occupation during the World War II now destroyed.
Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed the Security Council. I want to say that the special military operation is proceeding strictly in line with the timetable, according to plan, he says. Ukraine is not backing down, launching its own missiles at Russian troops. This video showing the aftermath of an attack at an airfield. Everyday Ukrainians also ramp up work on barriers so Russian troops cannot get through.
They help our city to make the anti-tank hedgehogs. Why it's important? If you will speak with the workers here, many of them are from the occupied territory.
Also Thursday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky with a warning for the world.
God forbid, if we are no more, then Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia will be next. Then Moldova, Georgia, Poland, and so on. They will march to the Berlin Wall, believe me.
Meanwhile, thousands of Ukrainians continue to flee the war zone. This train, carrying mostly women and children, arrived at the border of Poland with Ukraine. They received food, drink, and toys from first responders and soldiers after their long journey. A tide of refugees looking for safety as the future of their country remains uncertain. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Poland has taken in more than 500,000 refugees who are fleeing from Russia's now week-long invasion. But even as a flood of humanity spills out of Ukraine, there is a trickle of people making their way into the embattled country. Our Adrian Arsenault is at one of those border crossing points.
So the flow of people coming from Ukraine into Poland is happening in waves all night and all day. A few days ago, it was thousands of people waiting at the border. Now the wait is much shorter, far fewer cars. In part, that's a good thing because people are being processed much faster. There's also an element to that that is really not good at all, which is that some people had heard that the lineups were so long they gave up and they went home. The curfews in some places are so strict that they just don't think they can make the drive enough. It's interesting. So all these people are getting on buses. Some of them aren't entirely clear where they're going, but they are going to shelters and temporary accommodation. But one of the things that's happening that you realize is that what compounds the heartbreak of it is that the traffic is not one way. So if you come over here a little bit, past the bus, down the road is a footpath. And the footpath is, of course, full of people who are crossing by foot with strollers. They've got kids and dogs and pets. But every now and then you see groups of people, not just men and women, who are walking in a determined fashion right back into Ukraine. You can just sort of see it down there. We've spoken with a number of them. They are saying either they're going to fight or they're going to find family and see if they can bring the family out. In one case, one man told us, when I asked him, how did you explain to your family here in Poland that you're going to fight? He said, they don't know. I made them a video here, and once I'm in, I'll send it to them. Adrian Arsenault, CBC News, on the border with Poland and Ukraine.
The Canadian government continues to expand its response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Today, Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland announced a blanket 35% tariff on all goods coming into Canada from Russia and its ally Belarus. And Immigration Minister Sean Fraser announced Ottawa is going to make it easier for Ukrainians who want to come to Canada.
We're launching 2 new special programs for Ukrainians who want to come to Canada temporarily and for those who wish to stay. For those who need a safe haven while the war ravages their homeland, we are creating the Canada-Ukraine Authorization for Emergency Travel. We are also introducing an expedited path to permanent residency for Ukrainians seeking to reunite with family members who are already in Canada through a new family sponsorship program.
Defense Minister Anita Anand announced further military aid to Ukraine. Canada will send up to 4,500 rocket launchers and 7,500 hand grenades. Ottawa is also giving Ukraine $1 million toward the purchase of high-resolution satellite imagery to help monitor the movement of Russian forces. And in Windsor, a Russian Canadian has burnt his passport. Andrei Kovalevsky lived in Russia for more than a decade, a child of the Soviet Union. He fled after feeling threatened for being pro-democracy. Here in Canada, he's become an outspoken critic of Vladimir Putin, fully opposing the war.
It was symbolic action. I burned it because if Russia burns Ukrainian property, why wouldn't I just burn over here in Canada a little piece of the Russian property? So it was symbolic to tell people that, but by burning this passport, I also burned bridges back to Russia. I visited Russia for the last 11 years, only one time when I had to fly there and say goodbye to my father in 2014. I don't have any desire. Do I miss my country? Yes, I miss. Do I miss my mom? Yes, I miss. But I met my mom last time in Lithuania, like about 30 minutes from the border. Now Lithuania closed their borders. I was planning to meet my mom in Kyiv last summer. I postponed it because of the COVID restriction and stuff like this. I will meet my mom in a couple of years when the Kyiv will be rebuilt. I believe in this. I believe that Ukraine will defeat this this person.
There is sticker shock at the gas pumps today. Prices rose sharply overnight and are expected to leap again in the next 24 hours. The president of Canadians for Affordable Energy says the price is where it's at for 3 reasons: the war in Ukraine, global supply issues, and the weak Canadian dollar. And it has some motorists considering some changes.
And what do they think of all these increasing gas prices?
It's crazy. Like, you gotta pay for school and stuff, and gas too.
Certainly, those small road trips on the weekend and stuff, we're giving second thoughts to those now. And from a work standpoint too, I use the vehicle for work, so we're being very mindful of where we're traveling and making sure to make it worthwhile.
I just feel bad for people who are on, fixed incomes, and, it's hard for them because they have to go places to work and everything. So it's for some people it's going to be a hardship.
They'll probably go higher. I mean, we're kind of lucky, right? BC is over $2 a liter, right? So I don't know. You got to stop the war in Russia too.
And I am trying to save every penny I can.
Yeah. So how much does this affect you?
It affects me because my husband and I are both on fixed income. So it does affect us, but you just do the best you can, right? save everywhere else.
I think people are maybe just kind of, hopefully a lot of them beat the punch before the price jumped up. But I mean, I think a lot of people are just kind of like, just living with it for now, hoping for the best that it might come down soon. But we live in Canada.
Let's turn to some lighter news now. Cue the popcorn. Whiff is back. Today is their first screening back at the Capitol Theatre in 2 years. The CBC's Mike Evans was there to speak with some who are eager to return to the theatre.
So you guys must be happy to be able to come back downtown and go into a movie theater. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this, yeah.
Yeah, well, we enjoyed the festival when we came, and it's been canceled the last couple of years.
I've got a little bit of time on my hands, and I remember what a good experience I had a few years ago when I saw Once We're Brothers with the band. So I've been getting emails, and this just seemed like the right thing to do at the end of a long, hard winter, we'll say.
How long has it been since you've been able to go to a movie downtown?
Downtown? The last movie I saw was here at WIF. I saw The Irishman in February 2020, just before COVID hit.
Yes, and that's when I was with her. We went.
How does it feel to be able to come down here and see a movie?
Woohoo! I mean, WIF is my passion, so it's a wonderful occasion. It's an important part of the community here, and it's becoming more so. The more we get involved with the cultural aspect of WIF and all of those things, the better this city will be.
Honestly, I'm actually quite overwhelmed by it. I think our whole team is overwhelmed by how much we've missed it and how much it matters to us and how good it feels. We really feel good. I think people have been really, really lacking this. And being able to come, I think we all took for granted the ability to come together safely. We all took for granted the ability to come and watch a fantastic film at the Capitol. And now that we can do it again, I think it's really, you really see the value that I think arts and culture bring to your life and entertainment brings to your life.
Love seeing the joy that it's bringing out in so many people. There is another screening tonight at 8 at the Capitol, with more films showing tomorrow and Saturday. Let's take a live look outside there. We see that sun, it's setting, some beautiful colors, and it is gearing up to be a sunny Friday tomorrow, and then Saturday, not looking too shabby either. Colette will be here with a look at our weather right after the break. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy joins us now with the happy news that it's about to get a little bit warmer, Colette.
Yeah, we're going to go down, but then we're going to come up, and we're going to be coming up quite significantly, Katerina. And so I thought we'd just kind of take a little look back at where we've been into double digits or trying to get towards the teens. So the forecast, that's what's coming up. But let's just look back into December. Back mid-December, we were up to 15 degrees. Yeah, remember those teens? January, no, there's not a chance we didn't get there. But in February 22nd, we were into double digits, 11.2. And then my forecast for Saturday, now this may come later in the day that we really get to that 12, but 12, and then I guess I could have pulled this bar up even further for Sunday, because we'll be at 17, my forecast high. So that's the 5th and the 6th coming up this weekend. Comes with some wet weather, that's the trade-off, but in the meantime, we've had more sunshine and the clearer skies, and our temperature right now at -2, -5 for Sarnia. We are going to see a colder night ahead tonight than what we had this morning. Now, the winds will back off a little bit, but because the temperatures fall to a colder level, essentially you get kind of the same effect in terms of what that wind chill is going to work out to. So currently it's at -7 for Windsor. Windsor a little lighter, -10 for Chatham-Kent, but we'll see that falling through the overnight. But high pressure gives those clearer skies. Now we'll start to see some variability in the cloud cover tomorrow. Still starting off with some sunshine. The cloud that comes in, any cloud that comes in a few pockets early, is going to be higher thin cloud, so not as much of a contender to really make it any darker. Still be a bright sky. But then looking ahead as we get into Saturday, we get more and more, well, there'll be a break in there, but then more and more cloud cover, and a special weather statement for eastern Ontario as the warm front comes in, because that area could get into some freezing rain. I tell you that because that's for Saturday night, in case you're doing any traveling this weekend into eastern parts of the province. Tonight, -11. Feeling like -16, -13 there in London, 3 degrees tomorrow, but then we get that jump Saturday and that jump Sunday coming in with rainfall. However, it's the only thing.
I will take that trade-off. It's fine. Thank you so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, we have a touching story about a father and a son, and we'll tell you what they do to bond. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's a cherished pastime for a father and son. It doesn't involve sports or food or taking in shows. This pastime is all about small discoveries, shared experiences, and a loving bond. Matt Damour has the story.
This one, the 94, which is right here, and then the 448.
Oh, okay. Jonathan Landry and his father Tim are doing something pretty typical, waiting for a bus. But the reason they're doing it is anything but ordinary.
Generally, people on the bus are going somewhere, whether it's work, shopping, visiting family, doctor, what have you, they're going somewhere. We're not really. We are exploring literally every single day route on the in the STM network.
The project started about a decade ago. Weather permitting, Jonathan and Tim go out a few times a month and ride the entirety of a different STM bus route. And the pair are well organized. A binder filled with route information keeps them on track, and Jonathan brings a folding chair for his dad to stay comfy at stops.
What blew my mind is how little of our city I really knew. I mean, I've lived here for 76 years, and I only knew basically the West End. And I had a chance now to discover the whole city, and it's incredible. One of the best routes that I've found is a 20-minute walk from my house, and I'd never seen it before.
Today's adventure started with a ride on the 94 outside the d'Iberville metro station. The Landrys rode north to the end of the line, then all the way south to the other end. By offering a window into their journey, Tim hopes to encourage more people to take public transit and explore the city. But it's also a personal journey, a way for father and son to spend quality time together.
We're seeing new things that we hadn't seen before in different parts of the city. And my dad and I have often discussed, the only thing better than a great experience is a great experience shared.
After today's journey, Jonathan and Tim say they have 5 routes left to check off their list out of a total of 184. But once they do, that won't mean the end of the line. The pair have a list of more than a dozen routes they want to re-explore, one bus ride at a time. Matt Damour, CBC News, Montreal.
What an awesome story. A Windsor duo is in the Juno spotlight. The Juno Award nominations are out, and Windsor's The Blue Stones are up for Best Rock Album. This is their second nomination. Last year, they were up for Breakthrough Artist of the Year. And they say they developed their sound here, which sets them apart from the rest.
The fact that seeps into a lot of like the different industries and communities in Windsor, including the music scene, that sort of bled into our identity as a band. We're a very hardworking band.
To be nominated for Rock Album of the Year, now you're on the same level as everyone else. And so, you know, the Arkells are nominated for their Album of the Year. That's a band that when we started, we really looked up to a lot. And now we're on the same stage as them in the same category.
The Juno Awards are in Toronto this year, airing on May 15th on CBC Television and CBC Gem. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also find us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Rick Mercer Report is up next. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night.